I've been recently wondering why Rust hasn't felt the same. Has anyone else missed this?
Oh!
So, it's been a year now, and I've already started to wonder, what effects did the recoil change have on Rust? And will Rust die out because of it? Let's talk about it. For those who have been living under a rock, or you're hearing about Rust for the first time, Rust is a survival game with lots of PvP aspects to it. It was most notably known for its incredibly difficult recoil, which took thousands of hours to learn. Unlike other games like Call of Duty, where you could become really good quickly, this one needed hours of practice. It was unique, especially for a survival game. Spending so much time practicing recoil and seeing yourself get better every day felt amazing. I recall spending weeks, maybe even months at a time, constantly joining training servers just to improve. The feeling of accomplishment was truly remarkable when you managed to kill someone who appeared just a couple pixels big from a really long range. However, everything shifted with the new recoil update in June. Almost every firearm underwent a transformation, with their new patterns bearing no resemblance to the previous forms.
Muzzle boost an AK and shoot it at the wall, like full spray it.
Oh my god.
Check it, bro.
What the fuck?
That's bro. I don't know if it's any other guns.
The recoil patterns became considerably simpler, to the point where most guns now require no practice at all. You can effortlessly grab a gun and start shooting, which wasn't a thing in the past. I remember shooting an MP5 for the first time, and dude, I thought I was gonna win this fight, but I totally lost, even at close range, because my bullet just went straight up into the air. The most notable change with the new recoil was the fact that you couldn't shoot from hundreds of meters anymore while standing up and moving side to side. Nowadays, you have to crouch. And another thing was the spread of the bullets. It used to be really tight and accurate, but now there's a lot more luck to it.
What is this? If RNG Bloom was a person, I would shoot him in the head, but my bullets would probably fucking miss!
And because of this, some guns became relics of the past, most notably the MP5, which nowadays no one really uses, but used to be a gun of the legends. Which could spray from hundreds and hundreds of meters with incredible speed. Nowadays, it's just a decent gun with a lot of bloom to it, nothing special about it. In the dev blog, they talk about how newer players wouldn't have a chance to kill the experienced players, because even if they got the jump on them, it will be quite hard to kill them if you don't know the recoil of the gun. So in short, they changed the recoil to make it easier and more enjoyable for new players. They also predicted that this would stop the rampant cheating / scripting problem in Rust, which in theory should have worked, because there isn't a reason to cheat anymore, since everyone is almost equal while using an AK. In reality, it became a lot worse than it was. But that's a story for another time. Now, let's talk about what effects did the recoil change have on the player base itself, and Rust as a whole, not just the gunplay itself. So, the first reaction from the community was complete hell.
10 seconds of me loading into a server. Can I shoot a gun? This is the AK. Oh my god. What the fuck? What is this? What is this?
I mean, everyone had always memed on the Rustified livestream that a new recoil update was coming on Force Wipe, but when there finally was news of a new recoil update, there was a huge uproar in the community. The opinions of people were quite split. One half really hated the idea of changing recoil, especially after spending a lot of time learning it, and the others thought it was a great idea to make the game more accessible for everyone to play. During this time, a lot of Rust old heads made their last and final Rust montage, which was compiled of their best clips. It was quite sad to see, but it had to come to an end. There even was a petition made to revert the old recoil, like back the old recoil, which is quite funny. I'll put the link in the description if anyone wants to see it as well. When the new recoil did come along, most YouTubers actually were quite annoyed. Well, maybe not annoyed, but I know for a fact that they were struggling getting content during those days. Now this part might be pure speculation, at least on my side, but I think that the new recoil update definitely killed the esports in Rust. Like, there is a small community of Rust players that do esport events on Rust that are quite underground, like PCR and base invaders, but thanks to the new recoil update, they kind of got shut down. Also the same with the clan scene. There were a lot of notable clans during the old days of Rust, like during the old recoil of Rust. Nowadays, I don't think there are that many, at least that are as popular as they used to be. The only notable clan that still is around right now is OT, which is doing just fine. They're actually thriving. But Bully, IB, I don't know, ZZZ, none of those guys are around anymore. Because the clan scene, from my perspective at least, is kind of dead now. Hey, you can correct me on this, but I personally do think that the Rust clan scene is nothing compared to what it used to be. I remember coming from CSGO to Rust, since there was a lot less cheaters in Rust, and realizing that it was quite fun competing with these guys. I mean, it was hard. It was really hard to kill them, but it was still fun trying to become the best in Rust. But now that saying of being the best is quite obscure, because there is like no recoil to go upon. This was actually the reason I switched to Rust from CSGO, because it also had recoil and somewhat of a competitive scene. And after switching, I realized that Rust is a lot harder than CSGO, but it didn't matter. It was still a lot of fun, even if I did lose the fights initially, you know? Another reason why I switched to Rust was because of the fact that there wasn't really a limit to how many people you can play against. Like in CSGO, you kill 5 people, you get an adrenaline rush, but in Rust, you never know how many show up. It could be 8, 20, 30, you never know. Now, the biggest problem that the new recoil has brought upon us is teaming. Let me explain. So let's say there's 2 teams back in old recoil, right? One of them is a duo, both of them have 4,000 hours, and the other team is an 8-man with, I don't know, 200 hours each, for example, right? If you're wondering who would win in a bow fight, the team A with 2 members or team B with 8 members, then the team B would easily win, because it's bows, right? But if you would give them Tommies, you wouldn't be so sure. There would be a really high chance of the duo clearing them out, since the 8-man would probably miss most of their shots, right? But if you do the same comparison now, if it's a 2-man versus 8-man with bows, the 2-man loses easily. And with the new recoil as well, same with guns. It's quite hard to kill them as a duo anymore. Doesn't matter if you have 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours. Gunplay, only winning, it's almost all the same. So now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, this is good. The gunplay has become more fair. The playing field is even, right? Well, that might not be the case. Think about the people who put in thousands of hours just to be able to play solo. Yes, there is still game sense that you can rely on, but the gap between being a solo and a 4-man or 5-man or even bigger is so huge, since numbers is everything now. It legit is all about numbers, which didn't used to be the case. We were able to kill people as a solo. But then again, from the perspective of new players, it was actually a great update. I was talking to a friend of mine about this and what he thought about it, and he said it was great because back in the day, the only gun he could really shoot was a semi. Like, he could not progress past that, and even if he did get an AK, there was no reason for him to take it out since he would lose to a Tommy. You know what I mean? So it did definitely open up the playing field for a lot of new players, or for people who couldn't put that many hours into Rust. And this is not just my opinion, I also found Blueprint saying something similar.
Played a ton of wipes in various different team sizes, including solo. I figured it was about time for an actual explanation of how I personally feel about the update. From where I stood at the time, there were 2 big reasons I wanted the combat updates in the first place. To lower or eliminate the amount of scripters, and to lessen the PvP skill gap, making it more accessible to all players. Overall, I now feel like gunplay is more predictable, which I love. Rifles, SMGs, and pistols all make sense in the meta for the most part. Each weapon has a clear advantage and or disadvantage that will tactically affect the way you roam with it and use it. The Thompson, for example.
Thanks, Blueprint. But the only problem I have with Blueprint's whole thing is he couldn't predict the future, because cheating is really bad right now. Anyway, we keep going. For those who didn't know, Rust didn't actually have a recoil at the start of it. It got added on later. And this was the initial clip of Helk talking about adding recoil. So I thought this was pretty interesting.
Also, I didn't have time this week. I did do a bunch of analysis on CS and all that to see how the recoil patterns work and all that. And I can see that there's something there. I'm probably going to change how recoil works in the future to be a little bit less aim coney, but it's not going to be exactly like CS or anything. But there is something there that I like about being able to learn the different weapons.
Now the thing that all of you have been waiting for. Will the new recoil kill Rust? The short answer is no. The long answer is maybe. Let me explain. I recently checked out the health of Rust by seeing how many players play it every month, right? And this time June and last time June when the update happened was around the same. They both peaked at 160,000, right? But the huge difference was on how many average players there are. It used to be 70,000 and now it's 80,000, which is great. Means the game is more healthy, right? But that's only on paper. When you think about it, Rust technically just changed the player base. The people who played Rust before were the old heads with thousands of hours in Rust on the old recoil. Yes, they might take a break from it, but they always came back because they loved the feeling of shooting someone from hundreds of meters. But I couldn't say the same now because I don't know. I don't know what these players are like. I mean, they're definitely more casual, but that doesn't mean they're not loyal to the game. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But one of the things that I do like about the higher player base is the new servers that have more than 1,000 players. Oh, they're so enjoyable. So what will happen to Rust? Only time knows. But to find that out, we'll have to wait. I'll see you guys in the next one. By the way, check out Jack if you're interested on the cheater situation in Rust right now.